We're all after success in podcasting, whether that be from the guest side of the mic or the host side of the mic. Either way, we're looking to go further faster. We're looking to make a bigger impact. We're looking to gain more influence and ultimately serve more people. But the most common thing I hear in podcasting is that doesn't seem to be happening. We feel like we're not really getting the result we're looking for. No matter how much time or energy we put into it, it doesn't really seem to move the needle. And what I find is that most of us get discouraged or even demotivated at times. And I know that I've been in that demotivated seat before. And today I want to talk to you about the silver bullet for podcasting success. And this will apply to either side of the mic. Hi, my name is Alex Sanfilippo, and I am thrilled to be talking to you about this today because this is something I've been really thinking about this entire past year. So we're going to dive straight into it here. First off, this silver bullet is something that you have to be devoted to. So it's not just like a click here and trust me, your wildest dreams are going to come true. It's not like that. It's not one of those things like click, woo, I did it, right? It's not going to be a get quick rich type of scheme type of thing, right? Like it's going to take work just like anything else. But this really is what I've seen to make the most sense. This whole idea came to my mind to talk about this when I was actually at a podcasting conference in Denver. And one of my friends there asked a question. He said, are you really a good podcast host or podcast guest if nobody's sharing what you release? And I was like, it's a really good question. Think about that for a minute. Are you really good at this if nobody's ever sharing it? And now I know where your mind goes. When we mention sharing, your mind automatically goes to sharing it on social media, right? Please repost this, please share this. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the intimate form of sharing, which is texting it to a friend, texting it to a family member, texting it to some group that you're part of, saying, you've got to hear this. You've got to hear this guest. You've got to hear this host podcast, right? That's the type of sharing we're talking about. And so the question that my buddy posed was, are you actually good at this? Do people want to hear you? If they're not sharing it, is that a sign? And again, that really took me back. I was like, man, that's something to really ponder and to think about. And it really hit home for me. And then at the same time, I started thinking about there are some shows, and I'm going to try to say this as nice as I possibly can, that don't really put a lot of work into it. And it's pretty surface level, not really a great podcast. And I'm like stumbling on my words here because I want to be nice. The point is not the podcast itself not being good. It's why is that show big? How has that show grown? What is causing them to get all that traction? Like how is it that people are actually listening to it? It's getting shared on social media. I see it. Forget the whole text thing, right? It's getting shared on social media all the time. How is that happening? And I've come to this conclusion of what this silver bullet is, and that's what I want to dive into here. I'm going to reinforce this a few times because it's extremely important. First off, there is a fine line between being a good host or guest and marketing. And there's some sort of medium ground, and that's what I'm going to get into here. So the silver bullet, I'm just going to throw it out there. You ready? Hope you're ready to take notes. The silver bullet for podcasting success on either side of the mic is being so good that you cannot be ignored and people feel compelled to share without you having to say anything. Being so good that you can't be ignored and so good that people feel compelled to share your content without you ever having to ask them to. Here's the thing. You want to know a great example of this? I'll just go to the TV route, right? Let's go to TV shows. I'll give you two great examples here. Number one, Game of Thrones. Was there any chance that Game of Thrones was not going to be the biggest TV show ever or one of them? Even if it's not your cup of tea, like I actually didn't care for it, so be nice, calm down, right? It wasn't really my show, but here's the thing. I don't deny that it was so good that there's no way that people who liked it weren't going to share with everybody they know, right? And for me, there's been shows like that in the past. It wasn't that one, right? But for sake of example, that show had no chance of never not being successful, regardless of what people put into it to get the word out there and stuff like that. From day one, I can remember hearing, a friend sent to me the first day it came out. He's like, dude, I just found this show that you have to watch. He's like, you like the game Skyrim and Oblivion? He goes, you are going to love this, right? Like, that was the first opening text, and I did watch the first episode. That's as far as I made it. But here's the thing. Let's go to another show now. The Lord of the Rings show, I think it's called like Rings of Power or something like that. A complete flop. And I mean, Amazon has put so much press out there, paid for some people to watch it, right? To try to like recover the fact that it's like, it wasn't a total loss. No, it was a total loss. And that show was marketed so well that boxes showing up to my house for months on end had pictures of it. I'd open it up. There's flyers for it, right? Like everything you can imagine. They did all the marketing in the world. Here is the difference, again, with that whole silver bullet thing. If you're producing content that isn't the best of the best, people are not going to share it. Therefore, it is not going to live forever. It's not going to grow organically. So that Ring of Power show, I think the Lord of the Rings one, whatever it's called, right? If they turn off the marketing machine, it will never get talked about again. And we're already seeing that happen, right? It's not getting talked about because people aren't sharing it because it's not good content. Let's go back to Game of Thrones. People still every single day are starting to watch it the first time because they're finally like, if any of my friends mention that I need to watch this show again, I'm going to freak out. So I'm just going to watch it, right? Because it's that good. We have to learn to create content that is that good. So good that people feel compelled to share it, right? So good that people can't help but not listen to it. Like they've got to hear it because it's that good. But so few of us have done that time. Instead, we've gone heavy into the marketing side because the world says if you market it well, it's going to do well. And I actually call this like the Netflix model, for lack of a better term. Netflix produces so much content. I'm not trying to pick on them or anything like that, but they produce so much content, and they're always releasing shows, always marketing it, getting out there. But here's why I know that model doesn't work. They're a public company. Go look. Last I checked, they were over $14 billion in debt with no way to pay for that because they just keep on releasing content that is not worthy of people's time. We can't repeat that model in podcasting. So what I'm telling you to do is if you're a host, stop trying to focus on more downloads and start trying to focus on getting better as a host. If you're a guest, stop being on so many podcasts. Go on just a few, but do such a good job that you know you can go to sleep saying everyone who hears that is going to have to share it. It's so good, there's no way they can't. I can think of a few times where there's been podcast episodes that I've listened to, and I text it to everybody I know. Like, right, everybody would apply to, let's put it that way. I'm like, you have to hear this show. And sometimes I'm like so compelled to do it. I'm like, I'm going to follow up in 3 days. If you haven't listened to it, I'm going to come beat you up, right? Like that type of thing. And obviously, I'm not really going to do that. Give me some grace here. But the thing is, it's that good. And I'll share an episode of my show that happened with. And it wasn't me. It was my guest came on and absolutely just crushed it. I had a buddy who's he's a big name coach. And he texted me saying, Alex, I've listened to this episode 6 times of your show this week alone. And he goes, not only that, but I told all my clients they have to listen to it or they're fired. He goes, and I think my family's getting sick of me just like talking about it. He goes, everyone I've talked to, I've told them about this podcast episode. It was so good, it couldn't be ignored, and so good that he felt compelled to share it with everybody he knew. That's the silver bullet that we need to work on. Now, I kind of talked about at the beginning, there's that fine line between marketing and good content. We have to do something. You can't just be like, all right, I'm the best ever, but I'm the best kept secret in the world, right? We don't want that to be us. A great example of this happening, I know I've gone with the TV example a lot here. I'm like not even into TV, but here we are. The Barbie movie. Here's the thing. That's the first movie ever to spend more on marketing than on production. And the movie did well. It's profitable, made a lot of money, right? Here's the thing, though, and I'm not being rude about the Barbie movie. If you like it, that's great. But it's not a movie we're going to talk about for generations to come, right? It's not a movie that the rest of our lives we're going to be like, oh, that's a classic. You have to see it. That's not going to happen. As soon as that marketing engine is shut off and we're like, we've made the money we want to, we're done, it's not going to get shared anymore because the content can't hold up with what people want, right? It's not apples for apples, but they market it really well to get where they needed to go. So here's the question. Are you a marketer or are you a podcaster? A host or a guest? Are you a podcast guest or a marketer? A podcast host or a marketer? If you happen to be both, great, but don't rely just on your marketing. And here's why I say that, because if you're in software like I am, so I'll go with the software example here. Software as a service, we call something churn rate, which means people who come into your ecosystem, join, and then they leave really quick, right? That's called the churn rate, them coming in the front doors, we say it, and out the back door. If you're a good marketer, and your podcast content isn't good, it means you have a really big back door, but a really small front door, right? Or a big front door even, right? If you're a good marketer. So your front doors where you bring everyone in, everyone's like, ooh, I want to hear that, I want to hear it. It sounds like it's going to be cool. They listen like, they're gone. They leave the very big, attractive back door because you have like the big pool in the back, right? I grew up in Florida, so I can tell you what the goal is. Have a swamp in your backyard with alligators and snakes that are hungry and ready to eat you, right? That's what you want to make your back door like. So if you're a marketer, you want that big front door, but you want to work on getting really good at the content, not just good at marketing, because you don't want people leaving as soon as they show up. On the flip side of that, if you're not a good marketer, but you're a great host, you need to figure out how to at least make a front door not look terrifying, right? Going to my back door example, you don't want your front door to have an alligator sitting in the front of it, right? I'm really showing you all Florida man here. That's me. Here I am. But here's the thing. You want to make sure that, again, you're making some welcoming environment to bring people in. And I want to talk about these things. First off, are all marketers good podcasters? Absolutely not. And are all podcasters good marketers? And I'm talking guest or host, remember? And the answer is absolutely not. There are some podcasts out there, people that I know that are really good marketers, that literally, one of my buddies, he brought I don't know how much, I think it was like 1.5 million people to his podcast to listen to it in 1 month. 1 month. Like, that's more than most of us get in our entire lifetime of podcasting. I'm not saying that to discourage you. He's an excellent marketer. He told me, he's a cool, humble guy. He's like, I'm terrible at this, dude. The content was so bad. He goes, I don't think there was any repeat listeners. I just leveraged my market, so I quit my podcast like 2 months in. People are like, why would you do that? That's crazy. And he's like, it's actually damaging my reputation because I'm not good at it. And I'm like, man, good point. So these marketers that can bring everyone in, they're just so good at bringing people in. We're not focused on how people are leaving the back door and how much of their credibility is getting hurt by them actually having a podcast. So if you're not good at marketing, don't be discouraged by that. You'd be better off having few people listen and actually retaining them as listeners than being really good at marketing, be able to bring tons of people into your front door, then immediately leave out the back. So this is the thing. There is a balance here. And I keep on going back to that. The silver bullet, once again, is to be so good you can't be ignored, and to be so good that people feel compelled to share your content. So how do you get a few of those people there? How do you find that fine line? If your content is just pretty good, you need to be better at marketing. If your content's really good, you don't have to be as good at marketing. Again, going back to Game of Thrones, at this point, there's not really much marketing that needs to go into it, right? It's a machine that's moving. Your goal is to get to that point. Now, our minds automatically go to social media, and I'm going to mention this. You don't have to be on social media. You only have to be the places you don't absolutely hate or the places that you know your audience hangs out. I'll give you a great example of this. I was actually recently at a podcast meetup here in Jacksonville, Florida. Shout out Jack's Podcasters United. Love that group. And someone named Elizabeth was there. And her and I had a conversation about 6 months before, or 8 months before I was recording this right here. And she's like, Alex, I'm so stressed about podcasting. She's like, I'm a guest and a host, and I just hate it. And I was like, well, stop your podcast if you hate it. She goes, no, I don't hate podcasting. I hate social media. She goes, all of it causes anxiety, stress, pressure. I'm always behind. It's just not fulfilling or rewarding at all. And it's not even really moving the needle for me. And what most people would probably say in that moment is, well, hire somebody to help you with it. Get better at it, right? And I told her, I'm like, shut it all down. Only do your podcast and only go be a guest on podcasts. That's it, right? Like, just stop all this. And she's like, well, I've only got 10,000 downloads of my podcast, which is like, that's great, right? That's 10,000 people who have heard you. That's value adding. And she's like, but is that just going to stop? I'm like, maybe. I'm like, just focus on your own craft. Get good at it and just podcast. Do the only thing that you said you're going to do. 8 months later, she reported back to me, saw her at meet up again. And I was like, Elizabeth, hey, how's it going? And she goes, Alex, I now have 65,000 people who listen to my podcast, and more people are listening every single day. Like, she's seeing that number climb. I was like, great, what are you doing? She goes, I'm only doing my podcast, and I'm only being a guest on podcast. And she goes, I don't do anything with email, nothing. That's literally the only two things she does. And she's not even going for big shows. She's just getting on any show they'll have her that's in her niche, right? Which is always something I preach. And she's seeing these amazing results. And here's why. She's the best there is at her message. She has a real niche. She has absolutely crushed it and proven that, you know what, I don't have to be that good at marketing. I don't even have to use social media like everyone says you have to. I have grown 6x the size I was at the beginning of the year by doing the opposite of what most people say to do. Here's my point again. The silver bullet in podcasting as a guest or a host is being so good that you can't be ignored. Being so good that people feel compelled to share your content. So how do we do this? I want to get real practical here just for a moment. The first thing you need to do is determine where are you on that spectrum of marketing and talent. And here's the thing, if you're really good at marketing, raise the game with your talent, right? If you're really talented, continue raising your game, never stop, 1% better every day. You got to do the work. But also say, what can I do from a marketing standpoint? How can I get people to start sharing it from their phones? That right there is what you want, is people to actually share it from their phones. It's an intimate way to share, but I'll tell you what, that yields really great results. And it's one of the main ways that podcasts actually grow and spread. So that's what you really want. So the first thing we have to do is we have to get good at our message. And I'll tell you what, if your message is very general, very face value, very generic, it's not going to do well. You've got to be willing to go deep. You got to be willing to dive into something. You got to be willing to cover things that no one else is willing to cover in your niche. The best way to figure this out, and you've heard me say it before you've ever heard me speak, you got to go back to your why. What is the reason that you're podcasting? Why are you doing this? Sit down with pen and paper. Get quiet with your thoughts. Go somewhere that inspires you and sit down and say, why am I doing this and who do I serve? That is your why. Figure those things out. And then say, how deep am I willing to go to serve this person? To what length am I willing to go to serve and help this person? When you can get really clear on that, you can start figuring out the value that you need to add. The next thing I'll mention here is to get into some groups. I always preach community. Get around other like-minded people that are really good at this, right? And the thing is, they don't even need to be your same niche. Be like, okay, well, I got to find people that are specifically good at this. No, they can be anybody. If they're a master of their craft, that is going to motivate you. Get around 5 people like that. They're the master of their craft, even if yours is different, because that will rise your game. That will level you up as a speaker as well. Get a coach is another great option. So get a community, get a coach if you can. Those are good things. The other thing that I really like to do, this is very practical. I record myself every day, just on my iPhone. And so just put it in a windowsill or somewhere and talk for 1 to 2 minutes on a specific topic. Sometimes have your significant other tell you what the topic is, so you don't even get to think. Just get in there and hit record, and then rewatch it and improve the next day. Do it again. Do something else. Continue to get those reps in. The more you get those reps in for that short sprint of time, the more concise you can answer somebody's question. And the less words we use usually means the better we know something, right? So you want to practice that with short periods of time. You don't want to be doing 25-minute keynote speeches every day, right? No, 1 to 2 minutes. Can you really tell me why the water bottle that all the influencers are buying right now is the best water bottle, right? Sounds silly, but if you can have a coherent conversation with yourself about that for just 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes, and you rewatch it and work on your filler words and things like that, that's going to help you in the long run really add value. So for me, like this talk, I don't have any notes. I prepped. I knew what I wanted to say, but I don't have any notes on it. There's not a notepad up on my screen right now or anything like that. I just knew the direction I wanted to go, and I've devoted the time to be able to share this. And I hope this is content that's worth sharing, right? That's the idea behind it. So again, the silver bullet here is be so good you can't be ignored. Be so good that people feel compelled to share the content that you have. This happens by you adding value and serving, by knowing that why. You get better at that by being in community, by having a coach, and by getting the reps in, getting a lot of practice. Be willing to put the time in to make this happen. I'm telling you, that balance between marketing and being a good speaker, a good host or guest, you're going to be able to find that sweet spot. And I encourage you to really, really dive into that and go after it. The last point I'm going to share, because this is so important, make sure that you talk to people that have listened to you. Talk to people who have listened to you. Have conversations, have empathy, think about what it is that they're really struggling with, ask them insightful questions, almost interview them, right? To figure out what is it that they really want from me? Why are we here on this conversation? What is it that I can learn from them so that I can go and teach that to other people? How can I speak this in a more clear and better way? Talk to the people. Don't be focused on numbers, be focused on the one person you can serve each and every day, and that's ultimately what's going to help you level up. Again, my name is Alex, and I thank you so much for the time today. Thank you for listening to this or watching this.